Imagine you're sitting in a busy cafe. A little boy accidentally knocks over his drink. Juice spills everywhere. Every eye turns toward the family. Now, what would you expect to happen? Maybe the parent would yell. Maybe they'd scold the child. Maybe they'd threaten to take away screen time later. But instead, the mother quietly hands the child a cloth. She smiles gently and waits. No shouting, no embarrassment, no punishment. The child calmly begins wiping the table. Within moments, everything is back to normal. The lesson wasn't taught through fear. It was taught through responsibility. And this simple moment captures one of the biggest differences between Japanese parenting and much of the modern world. Because in Japan, the goal isn't to control children. It's to help them learn how to control themselves. And that changes everything. Today we're going to explore why Japanese children often appear calm, respectful, and emotionally balanced. Not because they're naturally different, but because they're raised with a philosophy that builds discipline from the inside out. The surprising part? Most of these ideas don't require expensive parenting books or complicated techniques. They begin with changing how we see children's behavior. Let's start with one important truth. Children aren't born knowing how to regulate emotions. They don't automatically understand patience. They don't naturally know how to solve conflicts peacefully. Those are learned skills. Yet many adults treat emotional outbursts like acts of disobedience instead of moments of learning. A child screams because they're overwhelmed. A parent responds with punishment. The behavior might stop for a while, but the emotion underneath never gets addressed. Japanese parenting often asks a different question. Instead of asking, "How do I stop this behavior?" they ask, "What is my child trying to learn right now?" That single shift changes the parent's role. Instead of becoming a judge, they become a teacher. Think about riding a bicycle. If a child keeps falling, we don't punish them for losing balance. We understand balance is a skill. Emotional control works the same way. Calm behavior is a skill. Patience is a skill. Kindness is a skill. And every skill improves with practice, not punishment. One of the most fascinating parts of Japanese parenting is how adults respond during emotional moments. Many parents feel pressure to stop tantrums immediately. They're worried about what other people think. They rush to distract the child, offer candy, promise rewards, or threaten consequences. Japanese parents are often more comfortable allowing emotions to exist, not because they ignore their children, but because they understand something powerful. Emotions are temporary. Children need help learning to move through them, not around them. When a child becomes frustrated while tying their shoes, many adults instinctively jump in. "It's faster if I do it." But every rescue steals a small opportunity to grow. In Japan, parents often pause before helping. They observe, they wait. If the child truly needs support, they step in. But they don't remove every challenge. This teaches children something incredibly valuable. I can solve hard things. Confidence isn't built by hearing, "You're amazing." Confidence is built by experiencing, "I figured it out." Psychologists call this mastery. Every small success tells the brain, "I am capable." And capable children become resilient adults. Another beautiful lesson comes from the way Japanese families think about community. Many Western cultures celebrate independence from an early age. Be yourself, stand out, be the best. Those ideas aren't bad, but Japanese culture adds another layer. It teaches children to think about how their actions affect everyone around them. Imagine two children leaving toys all over the floor. One parent says, "Clean up because I told you." Another says, "Let's put the toys away so everyone can enjoy the room." The task is identical. The message is completely different. One is based on authority. The other is based on empathy. Children gradually begin understanding that their choices influence other people's experiences. That awareness naturally creates respect. Not because someone is watching, but because consideration becomes part of who they are. Perhaps the biggest misunderstanding about Japanese parenting is that it's cold or overly strict. In reality, many researchers describe it as deeply affectionate. Young children spend lots of time physically close to their parents. They receive comfort when they're afraid. They experience warmth, gentle touch, shared routines, consistent presence. This emotional closeness creates security, and secure children don't constantly need to fight for attention. Think about a tree. Before it grows tall, it first develops deep roots. Strong roots allow it to survive storms. Children are no different. Emotional security becomes the roots. Independence becomes the branches. Parents don't rush independence. They grow it slowly. As children become ready, they're given more responsibility. Packing their own school bag, preparing simple snacks, helping clean after meals, feeding a family pet. These jobs may seem small, but they carry an important message. You matter. You contribute. You are trusted. Children often live up to the expectations placed upon them. When adults constantly assume children are irresponsible, children act that way. When adults communicate trust, children often surprise us. There's another habit that's easy to overlook. Japanese families place enormous value on routines. Morning routines, greeting routines, meal routines, cleaning routines, bedtime routines. These predictable patterns reduce stress because children know what comes next. Imagine driving through a city with no traffic lights. Every intersection would feel chaotic. Routines become emotional traffic lights. They reduce uncertainty. And uncertainty is one of the biggest triggers for anxiety and emotional outbursts. Calm children usually don't come from perfect parents. They come from predictable environments. Of course, this doesn't mean children never cry. They absolutely do. They argue. They make mistakes. They forget responsibilities. They're still children. The difference isn't the absence of difficult behavior, it's how adults respond to it. Instead of reacting with anger, they respond with guidance. Instead of asking, "How do I win this battle?" they ask, "What lesson will help my child for the next 20 years?" That long-term thinking changes everyday parenting. Every spilled drink becomes a lesson in responsibility. Every disagreement becomes practice in communication. Every mistake becomes an opportunity to grow. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson of all. Parenting isn't about creating perfect children. It's about creating capable adults. Adults who can stay calm under pressure, solve problems without panic, respect others without being forced, and take responsibility even when nobody is watching. None of that happens overnight. It happens one conversation at a time, one routine at a time, one patient response at a time. You don't need to copy Japanese culture perfectly. You don't need to change everything tomorrow. Simply begin with one habit. The next time your child struggles, pause before reacting. Ask yourself, what skill are they missing? Instead of asking, "How do I stop this?" teach the missing skill. The next time they make a mistake, invite them to help fix it instead of focusing only on blame. When they become frustrated, give them a few extra moments to try before stepping in. When they succeed, even in a small way, allow them to feel the pride of doing it themselves. These little moments seem ordinary, but over months and years, they shape identity. Children slowly begin seeing themselves as patient, helpful, responsible, resilient. And once those qualities become part of their identity, discipline no longer has to come from outside. It begins to come from within. That's the quiet wisdom behind Japanese parenting. Not louder voices, not harsher punishments, just steady guidance, meaningful responsibility, emotional connection, and trust. Because calm children aren't raised by fear. They're raised by parents who consistently teach them how to become calm themselves. And that may be one of the greatest gifts any parent can ever give.